Greetings, everybody. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571, where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. Tonight's show I'm going to talk about is value. Um, gonna Before I start, I'm going to talk to my greetings, everybody. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's. Hold on. I'm coming to you live from the 571, so before I start, I know Bean's on her way home from work. So why don't you holler at your boy, Bean?
Hello, hello, hello. How are you on this very humid and hot day?
Oh yeah, it's hot as anything. Also, I got Miss Apple, the lady sweetest Apple. What's up, Miss Apple?
Good evening, everybody. Everything's good. It's humid in Binghamton, but it's rainy here in the city.
Yeah, yeah, it is raining and um I'm having gut issues right now, so I am hanging on there. Well, before we go on, I want to thank my usual panel. They're not guests, they're family. We got DJ Dabs, originally from the 206, now in the 904, and we got Big Al, originally from the 318 in the 706. We got Miss Nikki and Miss Jackie out there in YouTube land, and we also have people in Facebook land and TikTok land. So let's start by making a simple yet profound question: what conveys value? Many might instinctively answer money or possessions, but let's take a closer look. Value at its core is subjective. For me, it's rooted in qualities like discipline, integrity, morality, and ethics. Think about it. Are you someone who is useful to your community? Do you practice good stewardship with the resources that you have? Are you the kind of person that others turn to when resolving conflicts or solving problems? These are some of the markers of true value. They define who you are, not what you own. Money, while undeniably important in many aspects of life, is ultimately an enhancement, not the be all end all. It's a tool that you can amplify your ability to create value, but it doesn't determine your worth as a person. And here's another layer to consider. There are individuals with vast financial resources who still lack the qualities we are discussing today, which are discipline, integrity, morality, and ethics. They might have wealth, but do they have integrity? Are they contributing positively to their community? It's worth reflecting on how we measure success and the value of today's world. And, in this materialistic country, in this materialistic world, we're always taught to chase the bag. We're always taught that if you're broke, you're a bad person. If you're not bringing value to people, you're not a good person. Well, money is good, but money is a tool. Um, how are you looked at by the people around you? Do you make the situation better or worse? If you make it worse, you're not valuable no matter how much money you have. If you do make things better, then you have value to the people around you. And you don't have to have value to everybody, because I'm sure I'm not valuable to some people. They don't I'm good as a wooden nickel to them. But to some people, I do have value because they come to me when something needs to get done. And I'm sure everybody on this, if I was to say, is the person in the White House, does he has value because of the position he holds. He has value because of the decisions that he makes, and he sought after to solve problems. However, he's undisciplined, he lacks integrity, and his moral and ethics are, I'm not even going to call them questionable, be to be disrespecting questionable. Uh, but in other words, there are people that are less wealthy that make a bigger difference in the world and in the United States and in their communities. So I want to start off with Miss Summer. How you doing, Miss Summer, our resident thespian?
Hey guys, how's it going?
what's going on. So to you, what does value what conveys value?
Uh, the passing on of knowledge to help prevent making the same mistakes, being a solid friend. It's things that everything that is not materialistic to me is valuable. It's the things that mean the most.
Okay, that's. Can you give an example of someone in your life that you hold in high regard and has value?
Well, I think so many people in my life, but one particular person is, I believe, my grandmother. She has been very influential in my life. She kind of like led by example. She always instilled in me where growing up, African Americans were not seen as equal. They, I don't know how to describe it. We were not afforded the same opportunities, but she always instilled the beauty in African Americans, no matter what they've gone through in life, how beautiful they are and how valuable they are and where we came from. So I've always appreciated my grandmother in that aspect and just shifting and in a positive way, self-reflection.
Okay, okay, okay. Big Al, I know you people have come to you and they still come to you even though you're in your life 3.0. What do you consider value? And can you give an example of someone that you know that you value?
Values are those qualities that we use to guide how we act and how we treat people. It's not something that you can touch or feel, but you can see it. Like respect, honesty, kindness, patience, integrity, generosity, all those are subsets of a person who has value or the lack thereof. And certainly, from a military perspective, the person that I hold high, even though he's transitioned now, is General Colin Powell. Having worked for him at one point in my life, he's a guy that has high moral values, all those things I talked about: integrity, honesty, kindness, courage, patience, generosity. He embodies those. But closer to home was my dad, who's a man of high value and integrity, who was well respected within the community and in the church. And a lot of people looked up to him and they wanted to emulate him and be like him. And certainly me and each of my five brothers, we did the same thing. Looked up to
Okay,
our father.
that's very good though. And I never worked for General Powell, but he was well known and well respected by many during his military career, and even afterwards as Secretary of State. Um, let's move it over. DJ Dabs, who do you consider valuable in your life, and why are they valuable in your life?
Well, there were several people. I could remember a mentor I had a while ago was a very valuable person. I think the biggest valuable person I think was in my life was probably my father. He was a very uh I guess a very good man, a Christian man. He made sure his family was taken care of. Um I kind of follow those, same values and, pass them on down to my children so they could, do the same as my son is now with his, dealing with what he's dealing with. But I think, yeah, like Big Al said, value is something that well, I guess you could feel it as well. It's something you see in a person, but I think you could feel it as well. If they're giving you a value, you can feel that. You see what they're doing, but you can also feel it, and you can hopefully pass it on, those same values to other people. So, you make your life, hopefully valuable to somebody else. So,
And that's kind of what it is. It's the people that could be counted on to help, and even without asking, if they're willing to be, if sometimes you go to them for help, but sometimes they see it and they help and they don't expect anything back. That's not always the case, but they're more people who are service oriented. Those people are valuable. People who are givers within reason. Because if you set yourself on fire to let other people, to keep other people warm, that's not valuable. That's expendable. Um, Being, name somebody. So, same question to you. Who do you consider valuable in your life?
At this point in my life, my siblings,
Okay, and why do you say that?
because they, okay, y'all, my siblings tell me when I'm wrong, and they're brutally honest, which I absolutely need when I'm doing something wrong or doing something right. Y'all don't hide praise, but y'all surely don't sugarcoat anything with me, and I need that in my life at this particular time. Like the honesty, the corrections, the uplifting. So that brings value to my life because I didn't have that a lot. Only maybe a handful of people when I was growing up didn't tell me I was going to turn out like my mother, or I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. So a little bit of validation about the good I do goes a long way for me. So I appreciate and value my siblings because of that. And my youngest son, I'm valuing him now because we're learning how to communicate properly as adults. It shouldn't have took him until he was an adult for us to be able to communicate properly. But sometimes that's what happens. And so my siblings and my youngest son um give me value and bring value to me. Well, I don't know if that's the same thing, but I don't know if
No,
I give it.
it's your story. It's your story. I'm not. There's no real wrong answer to this. But I mean, sometimes sometimes you have to do that. Miss Nikki says on YouTube, she describes what does she consider value as someone that is willing to take care of others besides themselves. And I kind of covered that because even Jesus said the leader is a servant of all. Big Al can tell you, being an officer in the military, it is customary that you eat last. Those in your charge eat first. They're taken care of first because without them, you're not leading anything. If you don't take care of the people who take care of you, you're not bringing them any value. And conversely, you train your replacement because you understand as a leader and as someone with value, you got to build value in other people so that they can step up, and there's not a loss in production or a loss in everything. And the people will be sad if you're gone, but sometimes it's the mission first, people always. You have to be a servant in order to be a leader. Anybody who always says me, me, me is not a leader, nor are they a servant. Miss Kim, you often give great advice and you're a great listener. Um, Can you give somebody an example in your family of who you valued?
I would have to say my father and my oldest sister. They are so much alike. Very generous, kind-hearted. They would give you their last. Pillars of the community. People look up to them, and I kind of learned from watching them, growing up watching them, how they move about as far as being in the church, giving back in the community, just being helpful. Like I said, my dad was the biggest person I value, because he was a hard worker. He never thought about himself. He always took care of his kids, his wife, you know, and he always came last. He always made sure we had, and he always came last. So he is someone I value as well. Like I said, my oldest sister, she's someone that I can talk to. I realize now the older I get, the more I could talk to her, because lately me and her have been talking more and more and kind of sharing some of the same views. And with her being 20 years older than me, she's more of a mother figure. So we may bump heads at times, but I still value her as someone I can go to talk to. And she also looked out for my kids with me being as far as I am from them.
That's what's up. It's always good to have someone who you can talk to when you need to talk to them. Let's take a little detour. It's on the same level, but if you can't produce money, then how do you bring value? Because when I said earlier that money is what everybody looks at, but not everybody has money. So give me Apple, can you give me an example of somebody without money being valuable to you?
In my opinion, value is more than monetary value. You can access service that brings value to people. Just sometimes even just a listening ear brings value. Things like that. Because you may not always be able to help financially, but you can always help emotionally or physically. Even if someone is like moving and they need help, with that, you can bring value to them by, just offering help. I try to, like I said, on a previous show, that my love language is acts of service. And I believe that that brings value, that brings value to me, because I'm able to help people that I care about, that has, that brings value to my life when I make someone else happy. I don't know if I'm kind of tongue-tied tonight, but I don't know if everybody understands what I'm trying to say, but
No, you're making perfect sense, and I want to add to that because our family did have a history of acts of service. Our father they would give you their last, sometimes to the detriment of their children, but they were always willing to help. Our grandparents was always willing to help. Both grandparents were always willing to help someone who needed help. And they passed that down to us. Now we might complain, we might whine, we might moan, but we're going to do it because that's the right thing to do. And a lot of times people want accolades for a little bit. I picked up a sock. Celebrate me. Whereas true value is not, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do and not because you feel compelled to do it, if that makes sense. But with all of that going on, DJ Dabs, I know you do DJing and you do a lot of hustling. Um, what do you look at if you can't give somebody money? How would you be able to show your value?
I think it's, I guess the little things, and you probably heard Chaka Pearl say this many a times. It's just those little things that's done. Um, when we went on our trip this weekend, I pretty much planned everything. She had no idea what I was gonna do. So, but of course, everything she liked. We went to a little mini golf. We went to this chocolate factory. She, loved it. It was cool. It's just them little things you think about. Sometimes it wasn't a lot. I mean, it was a little money, yeah, but then there's, just saying, nice stuff to people. Because when I always talk to people, it was kind. Matter of fact, when we were down in Daytona, we saw these people, and we went to the restaurant, Shogun. We just started chatting with these people, just being kind to these people. And then we'll start telling them, stuff they could do, and they're telling us stuff we could do that's free. So it's those little things that you not even, could be someone you don't even know. It's just those little things you give somebody or you talk to somebody about or um, and just enjoying, just fun little stuff that you just never think about. So.
Yeah, no, actually, that's great. That's great. That's what and that's kind of what service, right? Like Apple was saying, acts of service is people who are acting out of the goodness of their heart and not for something. And a lot of times we don't. A lot of times when we're used to getting stuff, we kind of take stuff for granted because that's just how we get sometimes. But it's always good to show appreciation to those that appreciate you.
Right.
And those who appreciate you will in turn do the same thing and provide that value to you. Because I mean, if you get somebody, you know, who you can ask, and they'll come through 95% of the time. A lot of everybody has somebody like that. Those are the people that we value. They don't have to be rich, but they have value. A lot of times we don't take that. We don't, if it doesn't produce money, a lot of people don't take it as value. And that's kind of the wrong way to look at things. And that's kind of where we are today in tying it back to this country. That's kind of where we are now because supposedly for being a Christian nation, we're quite stingy. We're kind of self-centered. Instead of outward, we looking at what's in it for me. And I say we because I'm a citizen, at least for now.
For now, huh?
Yeah, I'm a citizen, so I might not do it personally, but I know there are a lot of people that do. What's in it for me? I'm not, if I don't get anything out of it, I'm not doing it. And that's not, and that's like the far opposite of Christianity as it was practiced, as it's written in the Bible. Unless somebody has a Bible I ain't never seen, called maybe it's in Hateration or something like that. Or ignore the parts you don't like, iterations and stuff like that. But like I said, it's everybody in the group has children, and being parents, and in some cases grandparents, you're always thinking of them, and sometimes not fairly, because you always want to make sure that your seed is straight if you're a decent person. So you're always going to be serving them, even though you lead them, you guide them, you mentor them. sort of like what Bean was saying, you feed off each other. And if you can't talk to your children, if you can't provide guidance to them even after they're adults, then are you really leading? Are you bringing them value? Because it shouldn't be what they can do for you. It should be that you're doing such a you're living your life so well that they want to emulate you. They don't see you out there. I don't think anybody in here be partying like that, but they don't see you out in the club on Saturday night and in the church on Sunday morning. They don't see you out there with a cigarette, some weed, some narcotics and stuff, doing that, and then telling them not to do it. I've seen that before. And you people are living epistles according to the Apostle Paul. And they don't really care what you know. They want to know that you care. And how do you show care? You do things. It doesn't have to be action things. You don't have to give them money, because sometimes money can be enabling, but you do things that will help them, even if they don't feel they want to be helped like that. Because some people only want help the way they want it. And they don't take, they don't value the help that they need, because it's not the help that they want. And that's a lot of times we don't always cover that. But when we're talking about intrinsic value, we got to understand that it goes both ways, from the giver and the receiver of said things. I know Big Al's been serving with he served with a lot of famous military people. And I know when we first met, when I was right before I retired from the military, everybody went to Big Al. Even his boss would come to him, and they would ask him for guidance, and they would ask him for advice and recommendations, because they understood that he knew a lot, and they utilized him in that fashion. Hopefully Big Al, they didn't run you dry, but but he was that well respected in his area that everybody knew who he was, and they would go and they would come. I used to go to his office all the time. We just chew the fat. We just chew the fat. We were both deputies, and we went and we talked, and we had and then with the organization we was with, the Rocks. Big Al was the big mentor of everybody around there, and everybody looked to him for that guidance, that bringing gravitas, because if he talked to people, they knew him, and that he could get stuff done that maybe I couldn't do at my level. Go ahead, Big Al.
Yeah, I appreciate those kind words. And that's a part of legacy and mentoring. And the best feeling that I get in life is running into someone that I met or mentored 30, 40, 50 years ago, who still remembered the thing that I did to help them, or to get them promoted, or put in a good word for them. And my son is reaping those benefits now. He's a GS employee with Army Cyber Command. And he tells me, he said, "Dad, every day I run into somebody, just the name recognition, that when they see my name, they ask me, am I Al Morrison's son, or am I related to him?" And they'll always share with him something that I did for them at some point in time during their career. So for me, knowledge is very, very powerful, especially if you use that knowledge wisely. A lot of people hold on to knowledge and want to be the center of attention. So the only way you're going to get an answer is to go to Bill or go to Bob. I like to be very generous with knowledge, to share that so that people who gain that knowledge can pass it on and pass it on and pass it on. So thanks for your kind words.
Oh no, I meant that. I could say for everybody that I've come across that nobody has a bad word about Big Al. I could say that with from the bottom of my heart, and not be exaggerating or embellishing. I have to say that, like I said, one of the jokes I used to have with Apple was that, she seemed to be a stray magnet. She she couldn't pass somebody up. She would go for it, and I used to, and we didn't have arguments per se, but I would let my opinion know. And then one day we just had a nice long talk. And she was like, I know you've been telling me for years, and now I finally see it. Because Apple has such a big heart that she does things, and Bean can tell you that she does things to her own
No,
detriment.
I'm sorry. She was the Josephine Baker of the hood.
Give me an example.
Not too much on me now. Not too much.
No, because I have the same quirk or habit, and I'm just getting over it myself. My sister, okay, so it started with me. I'm a lot like my mother. And when I make a friend, we get attached and we just don't leave each other. And my sister was like, "Oh, you're my sister's friend. You seem trustworthy. I'm gonna trust you until I'm gonna trust you." And she also adopts them in. And then that's how that began. But then my sister also has a very, very big heart, and she sees somebody down and out. It's like she can't. It's like, yeah, it's like she's the pet catcher, because the stray catcher, because that's exactly what she was doing in a good way. But
Yes.
it also was detrimental, because when we look back at it, we know we should have did it less, because our kids suffered in some type of way, because we were so open with everybody else that they weren't getting what they needed at certain times.
And
So
that was sort of a family curse, if you really want to be honest about it.
yeah, well, yeah, but like I said, I used to call her the Josephine Baker, because she had kids of all nationalities, ages, and backgrounds, and she took them in and treated them like they were family. And
Yep.
some people deserved it and some people just didn't. And yeah, yeah. But my sister, yeah. But you get her to a point to where she has to say something to you, she's going to say it, and then that's going to be the end of it, and you're not going to be able to say anything else to her in life.
This is true. That's why I used to call her Evil Lynn.
Listen, she go that's one, and I'm trying to learn from her. She knows how to hold a grudge, and I'm trying to learn from that, because some people do you wrong, and you have to, instead of being what I'm gonna say, like me, a people pleaser.
Wait,
Well,
it's not a grudge. I don't hold grudges. I give you enough rope to hang yourself with. And once I'm done, I'm done. It's just setting boundaries. I had to learn to do that because I was not a person to set boundaries, or if I did set them, I didn't stick
you
to
didn't
them.
enforce them, and
I didn't, right.
you and I
it's
used
not
to have a
about
lot
holding
of
grudges.
back and forth over that.
Right.
I'm like,
So,
why is this person in your house? But they need my help. Why is this person ain't contributing nothing? This
and
person
I'm
ain't
still like
contributing
that
nothing.
to an extent, but I enforce the boundaries a little more now than I did in the past.
Yes, you do, and I'm proud of you for it. That's why
Thank
I brought it up, because because Bean was hard headed and I was hard headed, so we clashed a lot with that. And I used to be so upset. I used to be so upset um, because I would say, Bean, you need to do this, and her thing would be, you ain't my daddy, and I get mad and I be complaining, and then Aunt Cheryl, God rest her soul, said, let that woman grow up and be a woman. When she ready, she'll get her stuff together, and she was exactly right. And the person like my great uncle and great aunts, I I valued them because they offered stability when I was not exactly going the straight and narrow, not being a criminal, but I didn't have a real direction. So they mentored me to become what I am today, and I'm grateful for that. And people along the way is that, I don't know all the answers. Sometimes, some people tell me I think I know it all, but but I don't know all the answers. But I do know when I need help, I could get help, even though I hate asking for help. And that's another thing that Apple and Bean can tell you. We hate asking for help even when we need it.
No, that's y'all three, because I have no problem with asking for help. I never
Really?
had a problem with asking for help. It's just receiving the help that was the problem.
You see this, right? You see my side eye game's on fleek. Well, look who the cat drug in. It's Chocolate Pearl, my favorite girl. What's going on? How was your revival?
I am actually not at revival. I'm at rehearsal for revival. That's on Thursday. So, but it was good. It was long because we practicing for Thursday as well as Sunday. So, he kept us a little longer today.
Well, today's episode was about value, intrinsic value. Um, we were just talking about value and who we thought were valuable. I gave a couple of vignettes on value people, and I'm just going to ask you. I'm going to give you a little thought experiment. Let's try something together. Picture someone in your life who you admire, not because of their bank account, but because of their actions, their principles, or their ability to bring people together. Now compare them to someone like the president, who's rich, perhaps, but lacking in these qualities. Who truly holds value more in your eyes?
Beyonce, Dabs,
Why does Beyonce hold value?
because he's a man of his word. He's a man of God. He's also a hustler, and he's a stand-up person. Period. Not just a guy. He's just a stand-up person. Um, he says what he means and he means what he says, and he doesn't take 2 weeks to do what he says he's going to do.
You know what? I misheard you. I thought you said Beyonce and not fiance. Forgive me.
Why would I say Beyonce?
That's
I'm
what I
about to
said.
say.
Look, no, but that's why I was like, that's why I said what I said. So I misunderstood.
Oh.
I want to apologize. I said that I misheard because yeah, I was like, Beyonce. Why she say said my fiance Dabs? I thought you said Beyonce and Dabs. I'm like, what the hell?
No, my future husband.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like his character, and sometimes he's silly, but he could be, he could be serious when he needs to be serious. And the fact of what he has done throughout his life, he's raised his children on his own at a certain point of their lives, and then he's also a teacher, and not just a teacher, but he's a special education teacher. I always brag about that situation, as well as he's a DJ, so he brings people together with his music that he plays and displays and stuff like that, as well as when we go out there and we sell our products. He brings people together there because we get to meet people, throughout there. when we out there. But however, I just think he's a great stand-up guy, and I'm not just saying that because he is my future husband, but it's just because we became friends before we became partners. And that was a big thing for him. He needed to make sure that we are good in friendship as well as in love. And not a lot of people do that. But also what I said before is the fact that he says what he says what he means, and he means what he says. So, to me, that's a stand-up character. Now, with the situation that's going on in this world, everything is 2 weeks. Everything is 2 weeks, and nothing is the truth. Everything is fabricated.
Oh yeah.
And Dabs is not like that. Dabs is a man that's going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. But he's going to try to say it as nicely as possible, and he's not going to lie. He may tell a joke that might not be true, but he's not going to lie. Stuff like that. And so I like that in a person, not just a man, but in a person. And what's going on in the world with our leaders are not being truthful to us. They're not being stand-up characters. They're not fighting for us like they should. Only thing they're worrying about whether they're going to be able to keep their job or be sued by somebody later on. To us, they're not being stand-up characters. They're not.
Somebody else in Facebook land said they thought she heard Beyonce too. So I ain't crazy.
I did too, man. I thought that's what she said at first.
But I ain't crazy.
That's because I was like, she said Beyonce. She didn't say Beyonce.
Thank you, Farrah. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Miss
I
Kim.
said Beyonce.
Listen, Bean, we knew what she said because we know her accent. That muddled South Carolinian, Floridian, New Yorker accent. That's why we knew what she said.
And that reminded me of your mother always like, you know who you are.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Miss Kim.
I just want to take the time, and I know I don't normally say this, but it's come a time that sometimes you have to give people their flowers. But I want to say I value DFG. I value the time he takes up with his young men, his sons. I have watched him grow. I've watched DFG. We've had our ups and downs. He has always had my back. I know on the show a couple of times, he has said that I had his back, but he has definitely had my back. He always looked out for me. I have no family here. He is my family. I'm gonna have to say he takes good care of him. And there's so much going on in the world now. And I've lost a lot of people along the way. And sometimes we don't stop and give people their flowers that's due their flowers. And like I said, I don't bring a lot of things forth, but I do want to say to him that I do value him a lot. He's been in my corner as well as me being in his, and I just appreciate him. And that's all I want to say.
I appreciate you, Miss Kim. Always. I just try to be the best person I can.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
He's all right.
And my girls are crazy about him. And when they came for the first time to Virginia to visit, he entertained them, and they just love him to death.
They say nice things about me, but then again, Daniel does, and until I don't give him what he wants.
Listen, I appreciate what you just said, Kim, because he needs all the bouquets and forever roses and baby's breath, which are for good luck
Yes.
and prosperity. He needs all of the flowers because he's not only there for you and yours, he's here for his.
Yes.
Here for mine. He's here for y'all's. And yeah, like I said, if I ever win the lottery, my brother is in for it. He is going to be spoiled rotten to where he's going to be like, all right, get out of my face. You're doing too much.
Oh, you know I was gonna say that. You know, you already
I was
know.
about to say, you know, he gonna wind up giving it right back to you. But
That's
but
why I do
I
things he
want to
can't
say that
give
I'm
back.
glad that yeah, I
I
want to say I appreciate you saying that about him because he's a person that don't really like, you know, for you to praise
right.
him and stuff like that. But it's also good to, I tell him it's also good for people to say that so you know that you're being appreciated because you have been there for a lot of people. And even when people don't realize that you're there for them, you are there for them. You know what I mean? I was joking earlier, say, yeah, you're all right, but you know what I meant because you
I know
know
what you
that
meant
you're
because we're
always there
related.
for, yeah, yeah. You're always there for everybody that you have come in contact with, you know. So thank you, Kim, for bringing that up, you know, because he is a good man, you know.
Yes, he
So thank
is.
you.
I appreciate it. You know, usually I'll be like, no, 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 but you gotta, sometimes you just gotta accept the fact that it is what it is. And like I said, I appreciate all of y'all. Like I said, everybody who's in the room, everybody who's in YouTube land that know me and have met me, you know, everybody's had a positive influence on my life. Some less positive than others, but they had a positive. They helped me be the person that I am today, which brings us back to the essence of what makes someone valuable. It's not about the resources they have, although they're important. That's not the reason, but the impact that they create, the respect they earn, and the legacy they leave behind. When we do things like that, we have to understand that life is short. Sometimes you're going to need help. Sometimes you're going to have to help somebody, but don't do it. You know, be cheerful in giving. That's in the Bible. That's not me just saying that. That's in the Bible. And do what's right for the right sake. And you don't have to be religious to do that. You be the best person you can be. Otherwise, you're not living your full life. And you know, I'm kind of not feeling well today. Them BGs be acting up, and I don't mean the night fever Saturday Night Fever ones, but I'm gonna cut this one a little short tonight. I'm gonna give y'all some of your time back, but I appreciate everybody who's on here. And as we wrap up today's episode, I encourage you to think about your own journey. Are you embodying the qualities that convey value? Are you challenging the idea that wealth is the sole measure of success? Remember, the real essence of value lies in your actions, your ethics, and your contributions. Money might add sparkle, but it's the person behind the wealth who truly shines. Thank you for joining me today on DFG's Corner Emporium. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with anyone you might find it meaningful. Until next time, keep striving for integrity, discipline, and a life of true value. And before we go, I gotta shout out my co-host. I'm gonna start off with Bean, who's always lean and never green or mean.
All right, y'all. Like I say, subscribe, like, comment, share, and come on in and give us your opinion and your options and all of that. We need all of that. And I'm grateful again for my family. I'm grateful for my family on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and everything else in the interwebs. Peace out. I'm out of here. Have a good night.
All right, Miss Apple.
Good night, everyone. Once again, it was a great show, and I just want to leave everybody with this. No matter how much value you put into other people, make sure you value yourself first and foremost. Good night.
Very, very profound. I love that. That's what I love about you. You always have a profound word. Chocolate Pearl.
You had to have me go behind her with that. Come on now.
Hey,
I just want to thank everybody. Sorry that I was late, but I'm always trying to get there and try to do what I got to do. But thank you for coming on, like, share, and subscribe, and come back next week when we have a better topic than today, and then
but
more
you ain't like my
excitement.
topic?
No, I'm just saying. Oh gosh, I'll take things out of context, man. I love the topic. I'm just saying it's going to be a better one next week if you didn't cut it off.
Okay, I'll take that.
Every week is going to be better and better and better. If that's
It needs to
a
get that.
word, which is not.
Don't forget to tell a phone and tell a friend that DFG's Corner is coming back again every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join the conversation, come on Zoom. I'm also on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, TikTok Live, Instagram Live. If you got another live, if you got a subject, you can email me at DELITE7@gmail.com. Just tell me what if you want, and we'll bring it up. I'll bring it up to the team. And if it's an interesting and thoughtful subject, I'll talk about it. And I want to thank, like I said, I want to thank everybody who usually comes on. My family, y'all ain't guests. Like I said, y'all family, and you're always gonna treat your vice. You're always gonna treat your family like family. Sometimes we argue, sometimes we fight, but we all, in the end, we all love each other. And I want y'all to know, if you can't laugh at yourself, find somebody else to laugh at. This is DFG signing out for tonight. Y'all have a great one.